The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. The first time I heard this quotation, it was in the Little House on the Prairie books because it was the mom's favorite Bible verse. And with my atheist upbringing, my reaction to the verse was basically repulsion because when you say people are sheep, it's not a good thing. And this verse is basically comparing people to sheep. It's like, oh, they have no minds of their own. They've been tricked. And I think that is what most atheists think of when they hear Psalm 23. And now it is one of my favorite parts of the Bible. So what changed in my brain? So I think what changed in my brain regarding me being okay with people being sheep is I realized I do not have control over my own destiny. You know, shitty things are going to happen. I can think for myself as much as I want, and those shitty things are still going to happen. And the message of the verse isn't that, like, the shepherd is controlling the sheep. The message of the verse is that he's taking care of them. And I just looked up on the internet that in the original language, shepherd could also be translated as leader. So when they were speaking of shepherds, they meant the word in a much broader sense of the term. And another interesting thing, he maketh me to lie down in green pastures. When you think about how workaholic American culture is, it's like God is forcing you to rest. You are not smart enough to do it on your own, but he's going to make you actually chill out on some green grass and nom on some refreshment for a while. And that very much fits into my life. I'm a very workaholic person. So next part of the verse is, he leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. So, it's not only saying that he's taking care of you, it's saying that he's giving you purpose and he's giving you meaning. That when you're stumbling along, it's not just random, it's going somewhere. And when I was reading this verse in earnest for the first time after becoming Christian, the he leadeth me in the paths of righteousness, that was what had the strongest emotional reaction. It was like a magnet coming back into alignment or something. It was like, ploosh, you know, I'm back where I'm supposed to go. Or it was like a spring of water welling up in my soul. And I'm sorry, I know that sounds really cheesy and sappy and awful, but all I can do is describe what I felt. Now the verse takes a major turn. It completely changes tone. And this is, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Now, the Valley of the Shadow of Death, I first heard it in a fantasy book. I had no idea it was from the Bible. I just thought it was like an expression or something the author made up. And I loved the crap out of that expression. I was like, the Valley of the Shadow of Death. Like, takes a real badass to face that down. And, you know, it has even more resonance to someone who has experienced being a real shepherd, I think, because the valley, the predators, the mountain lions, or the bandits who want to steal your sheep, they are waiting on the cliffs at the edge of the valley to, like, jump on you. So the shadow of death is quite literally a shadow. There's this mountain lion or this evil person who's, like, casting his shadow because they're waiting up high to ambush you. But I love the phrase without even knowing that context, which is interesting. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. So this was something I really needed to look up because I have no knowledge of the shepherding profession. King David, who wrote this, started out as a shepherd and became a king. So he would have known what it meant. But so the rod is basically the shepherd's crook. And why is it shaped like a giant candy cane? Have you ever asked that? Well, it's because sheep are really dumb and they like to, like, pitch themselves off cliffs. They're not smart creatures, no offense. And so you actually reach out with your giant candy cane stick and you use it to grab the sheep's leg and pull the sheep back from the edge of danger. And then the staff, of course, is what you use to beat up the lions that want to steal your sheep. Being a shepherd is a very hardcore profession. And so saying rod and staff is very interesting because it's like God has a double mission of protection. He has to protect us from the lions and the bad things and the, creepy things out there, but he also has to protect us from ourselves. We're probably a bigger danger to ourselves than anything else. Definitely rings true with my life. My major wounds have been self-inflicted. Perhaps that's not quite fair, but I recently hurt my foot by exercising too hard, and that definitely was a self-inflicted wound. So thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. And now we seem to be leaving behind the sheep metaphor and switching to a person metaphor, because it says, thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. So the oil thing really threw me. I don't usually get anointed with oil. The only thing I could remember as far as oily heads was it used to be a ceremony for crowning kings. You smear their head with oil and then you slap the crown on it. I don't know why. I do know it had some sort of religious significance. I remember reading about it in a history book. But anyway, so basically smearing oil on your head is like treating you like a king. That's what I ultimately concluded. And then I looked up on the internet, and it's like the traditions of hospitality back in those days were like, if you give someone a meal, you were offering them the protection of your home and saying you would protect them from all your enemies. So laying the table in the presence of enemies is like, don't mess with this person. He's my guest. Whatever. So that makes a lot of sense. And then the cup running over, that's actually another phrase that's entered regular American dialect. Just like my cup runs over means I'm happy. I don't know if you've ever heard anyone say that. It's a little bit of archaic an expression, but it is an expression. And it's like, you have so much wine, you can even afford to spill it. That is wealth. And, there's something beautiful about the imagery of like a cup that's just like, it's not stingy. It's got more than it needs, which is the way God's love is, I think they're trying to say. And the final line, surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So what's interesting is it's not like, I will find goodness and mercy. Goodness and mercy are following you. You're walking away from them, and they are chasing you. It goes back to the whole self-inflicted wounds thing. It goes back to, like, grabbing the sheep, like, God is trying to be nice, but we keep, like, running away, like, and then he's like, no, let me toss some goodness and mercy at you, and I'm like, oh, I'm so busy going where I'm going, but okay. God keeps following, so that was very interesting. The last line doesn't resonate with me as much as the rest, probably because I've never been homeless, but just imagine what that line would mean to a person who felt like they didn't belong or whatever, felt they'd never had a home. I'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And there you have it, Psalm 23. Being a sheep doesn't mean you have no thoughts of your own. Being a sheep means you have too many thoughts of your own. And you want to fling yourself off a cliff. And someone has to help you. Grab you back with a stick. Give you some grass to nom on. And it's okay to be vulnerable. You don't have to be a tough, independent badass all the time. Like, sometimes it's okay if someone else takes care of you. And that's like the hardest thing to accept as a human. And the verse really helps you accept it. Thank you.